359 AD, 4253 AM. At the city of Antioch in Syria, now called the Jewel of the East, one of the four major cities of the Roman Empire, in a suburb called Daphne, a child was born with 2 heads, a beard and very small ears, the population announcing the birth of a monster. Also in this year, Rome and Persia begin 3 years of intense war. 1 Ammianus Marcellinus, Book 19. 362 AD, 4256 AM. On December the 5th, an earthquake finished off the city of Nicomedia, destroying what little was left or rebuilt after the quake in 358. Much of Nicaea was also destroyed, the 2 quakes being 52 months apart. 1 Ammianus Marcellinus, Book 22. 363 AD, 4257 AM. In the 6th year of the passing of the Romanid Apocalypse comet group, several comets were seen at the same time, some in broad daylight. Constantinople, Byzantium, was shaken by an earthquake, and Emperor Julian Augustus witnessed a bright meteor. Etruscan diviners asserted that the omen was bad for anyone thinking to invade another's country, using as their authority the ancient Tarquitian books of the Sibyl. Nevertheless, Julian, called the Apostate, prepares to invade Persia. Julian was of the family of Constantine the Great, and fantasized about leaving a great monument to posterity to perpetuate the memory of his reign. His chief idea fell upon the restoration of the temple in Jerusalem, which his predecessors Vespasian and Titus destroyed with great difficulty, then finished the devastation with General Julius Severus of Britain. Julian's work forces could not carry out the rebuilding of the temple because of strange fiery explosions from the ground that burned the men the project abandoned. Julian invades Persia and wars against the Sassanids, laying waste to fortresses and towns in Mesopotamia, even crossing the Euphrates River and marching his troops all the way to the Persian Gulf. After several victories, his men starved because of the Persians employing scorched earth tactics. He unwisely burned his own ships and was killed in battle. Jovian ascends the throne and immediately is assassinated for negotiating a peace settlement with Persia that relinquished Roman territory. Julian was a scholar and philosopher, called the Apostate because he refused to believe in the divinity of Jesus. He wrote, quote, "Jesus and Paul have surpassed all magicians and impostors that have ever lived. Neither Paul nor Matthew nor Luke nor Mark dared to say that Jesus was God, but John began the concept," unquote. 1 Ammianus Marcellinus, Book 25. For the Gospel Truth. 364 AD, 4258 AM. In the Council of Laodicea, the Roman Church officially, with government support, declared that the Roman world would henceforth observe Sunday as the first day of the week and the day of rest, formally abolishing the Sabbath in violation of the 10 Commandments. Quote, "Remember the Sabbath and keep it holy," unquote. Also in this council, the Passover was abolished, also dating from 1447 BC at the Exodus. This council successfully separated Christianity from those institutions considered Jewish, though both the Sabbath and Passover were ancient Israelite observations. The council consisted of 32 bishops from all the Asiatic churches. At this council, the New Testament books were discussed, and the Asian church agreed on which ones they venerated. As this was the Council of Laodicea, and the Apocalypse or Book of Revelation was prefixed with a warning to the Laodiceans, we are not surprised that they omitted Revelation from their own canon. The world is at war. Persia invaded Armenia, a former territory of Rome, and German tribes invaded Roman provinces. The Alemanni ravaged Gaul and Rhaetia. The Sarmatians and Quadi were laying waste to Pannonia, and Britain suffered onslaughts from the Picts, Scots, Saxons, and Attocotai. Goths invaded Thrace and Moesia, while in the southern provinces of Africa, the Moors and Ostoriani were raiding Roman allies and settlements. This year is 408 years in the Roman Julian calendar, or 2448 plus 2448 months, and 1447 BC was 2448 Annus Mundi. 1. National Sunday Law. 2. History of the Christian religion to the year 200. 3. Ammianus Marcellinus, Book 26. 365 AD, 4259 AM. On July 21st, an earthquake shook Alexandria, Egypt, in the 8th year of the passing of the Roman Apocalypse Comet Group. Roman historian Ammianus Marcellinus wrote that the quake was preceded by fierce lightning and thunder which continued through the quaking. The sea off the coast of Egypt where Alexandria was located receded, withdrawing far away from the shore, and the people found themselves far inland, looking out over an immense drying region of stranded fish and shelled creatures trapped in the mud, vast valleys and mountains where the sea had been before. As a great throng of people went out to gather fish, a tsunami came rushing back at hundreds of miles an hour, overtaking them. The wave and returning sea rushed up the coast and drowned the city of Alexandria, even depositing ships atop buildings. When the water subsided and drained from the city and coastal regions, many more people were pulled out to sea to drown. Approximately 50,000 people died. In his History of the Later Roman Empire, Marcellinus relates that this disaster overwhelmed the world, surpassing anything related either in legend or authentic history, his opinion. He wrote that the quake was felt from Egypt into the Aegean and that towns and buildings on coasts were destroyed when the sea was removed from its bed. Even in the Aegean, ships were deposited far inland, some still holding their dead passengers. Near Methone in the Peloponnesus, he personally surveyed such a wrecked vessel. He wrote that, quote, "The whole face of the earth was changed by a mad conflict of the elements," unquote. Ammianus was Greek, a Roman citizen having been born at Antioch. His amazing book, only one single copy surviving, and that dated from the 9th century AD, also relates that underneath the Great Pyramid were subterranean passages and winding retreats, quote, "which men skilled in the ancient mysteries, by means of which they divined the coming flood, constructed in different places lest the memory of all their sacred ceremonies should be lost." 1. Great Disasters. 2. Marcellinus, Book 26. 3. The Secret Doctrine.